Hello, brother, and once again, we are here with a new Bible study for you. I wanted to first say, if you're enjoying this content, if you would, follow along on the channel. You can hit the follow button, and you will get notified when I have new content put up. And I'm releasing new content at least once a week and sometimes more often. So today, the Bible study is on curse words, cussing. I had a conversation last year at a forestry conference that I was at with a young man in his 20s, a professing Christian, and he was telling me about his Christian walk. And over the few days of the conference, I was able to speak with him on more than one occasion. And on one occasion, as he, I'm going to say, warmed up to me, he started to add a few curse words into the conversation. And I politely stopped him and I said, "Why would you be cursing this way as a professing Christian?" And he says, "Well, there's nothing in the Bible about cursing." And I said, "Well, there is." And I ended up showing him one of the scriptures I'm going to show you here. And I said, "It's food for thought." I said, "I think you ought to look at the record of scripture and then maybe reconsider using cuss words in your language to make a point." And he acknowledged it and went on his way. And I'm hoping that made an impact on him to change the way he communicates with people. So we're going to look at that. What does the record of scripture have to say about using foul language? And as professing Christians, somebody on that narrow pathway to that narrow gate, should they be using them in their conversation, or even when they get angry, or using it to a close friend or relative? For that matter, again, should it be anywhere in the language coming out of a professing Christian's mouth? Okay, let's look at that. Okay, go with me to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, and we're going to read verse 29. Ephesians 4 and verse 29, which reads, "Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear." Now think of that. It's pretty plain. This is the New American Standard Bible version of it. Others I looked up for you, and I'll give you right now. Here's 5 other versions. I'm not going to give you the actual version, but I'm just going to give you the verbiage that they use in that translation, which is, one is, don't use foul or abusive language. Another is corrupting talk. Yet another is unwholesome words. Another is filthy talk. And then the last is evil speech. Now that's only 5. There's many translations of the Bible, but all of them would have something similar. So let's read that one more time. Let it sink in. Verse 29, "Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear." So pretty plain. You're not to use unwholesome talk. Let's drop down, staying right here in Ephesians chapter 5 And we're going to start in verse 4. Verse 4 reads, "And there must be no filthiness and silly talk, or coarse jesting, which are not fitting, but rather giving of thanks. For this you know with certainty, that no immoral or impure person or covetous man who is an idolater has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no one deceive you with empty words. For because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not be partakers with them. For you were formerly in darkness, but now you are the light of the Lord. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the light consists of all goodness and righteousness and truth." All right, just going back up to verse 4. "And there must be no filthiness and silly talk or coarse jesting, which are not fitting." Okay, so again, it reemphasizes what we just read in chapter 4. Pretty clear. Let's go to Colossians 3. Colossians 3, and we're going to read verse 8. Verse 8 reads, "But now you also put them all aside, anger, wrath, malice, slander, and abusive speech from your mouth." Put them aside. Anger, wrath, malice, slander, and abusive speech from your mouth. Pretty clear. All right, brother, let's go to Matthew 12. Matthew 12, and we're going to read verses 34 through 37. Matthew 12:34 reads, "You brood of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak what is good? For the mouth speaks out of that which fills the heart. The good man brings forth his good treasure, what is good, and the evil man brings out of his evil treasure what is evil. But I tell you that every careless word that people speak, they shall give an accounting of it in the day of judgment. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned." Again, isn't any plainer? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Evil speech, cuss words, is clearly forbidden in Scripture. And this is to say, be very careful what you say and who you say it to, because this clearly says, for every word that proceeds from our mouth, we are going to have to give an account to in the judgment. No one will be standing with you, next to you, at that time. You'll be one-on-one with Jesus Christ of Nazareth after his return. And you'll be at your resurrection, or if you're alive when he returns, you're going to be given a one accounting for everything you do. So let us be mindful of that in our speech and contact to others. If you let your light shine, you're not going to be filled with filthy words. You'll find another way to communicate what you need to communicate that will give grace to your speech and grace to the person listening to you. So one last scripture, Luke 6, Luke 6 and verse 45. Verse 45 reads, "The good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth what is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth what is evil. For his mouth speaks from that which fills the heart." Very similar to the scripture we just read in Matthew. We're not going to go there, but another one that re-emphasizes just what we spoke about, if you want to link scriptures, is Mark 7, verses 20 through 23. All right, I'll just leave that with you. Clearly, if you link these scriptures together and somebody asks you, like they did me, that the Bible doesn't have to say anything about cussing. It certainly does. And I think we laid that out for you today. So, brethren, God be with you until we meet again.